Could just tell y'all to reread the lyrics of the songs and be done. You want to hear me? Okay. So, but you're not that lucky. O God of the covenant, the cloud of your splendor and the fire of your love revealed your chosen one on the mountain heights. Transform our lives in that image, write your law of love in our hearts, and make us prophets of your glory, that we may lead others into your presence. Amen. In 1861, Julia Ward Howe wrote, "In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea, with glory in his bosom that transfigured you and me. As he died to make us holy, let us live to make all free. Our God is marching on." You probably recognize that from that hymn, the Republic. And I mention this for two reasons. The first is that this is the only place I have ever heard the word transfigure used outside of the Bible. This word is not in our common, everyday vocabulary. It's a nice, churchy word for a simple concept. It means changed in a substantial way. You might understand slightly better if I tell you that the Greek word is metamorphete, from which we get the English word metamorphosis, such as what a caterpillar undergoes to become a butterfly. So Jesus becomes a human light bulb. That's a pretty dramatic change. And the second reason for mentioning this, I think I'll make you listen to more of the sermon to find out. Twice in Matthew's Gospel, we hear a voice from heaven reminding us, and maybe Jesus too, that Jesus is the Christ, the chosen one, the beloved, and the one who pleases. The first time was at Jesus' baptism that we heard about back near the beginning of the Epiphany season. And now we end this season with the second announcement. But there's a little extra this time. Listen to him. Both times that we hear this voice, Jesus makes a turn, a change in direction. At the baptism, Jesus, an ordinary person, a carpenter's child, becomes an itinerant preacher. But not just any itinerant preacher, but the one who reveals God to us and changes history. Both John the Baptist and Jesus tell us to repent, which literally means to change direction, both in movement and in thought. We too are called to go the way Jesus goes. And now Jesus is changing direction again, this time toward Jerusalem and the cross. As we enter this season of Lent, we are invited on this journey with Christ and to change and to listen. One of the basic beliefs of our Christian tradition is that Jesus is both fully divine and fully human. So maybe even our Messiah needed an occasional reminder of his destiny, because that destiny is so counter to human agendas. What God is doing makes little sense to humans. But it's not just Jesus who has to be reminded. It is his followers, then and now. These people in this story are terrified, not just by that reminder, but also because they were afraid that God was in the cloud, much as happened when Moses went up another mountain. And we all know that no one survives seeing God. So they fall on their faces in awe and terror. I kind of wonder if they also tried to cover their ears. There's a lot going on in this very visual passage. The dazzling white clothes, the appearance of Moses and Elijah, the thunderous voice from heaven. I encourage you to go home and find a quiet space and read this story again. Then close your eyes and imagine that you are there. Perhaps even put yourself in Peter's sandals. How do you feel? Are you afraid and face down on the floor? Do not be afraid. It's easy to overlook the presence of these four little words near the tail end of Jesus' transfiguration. These are the words, for instance, with which the angel Gabriel addresses Mary in the quiet of her home, and which the angels greet the shepherds as they keep watch by night. And perhaps more importantly, these are the same words the angel uses at the end of this story when he encourages the women who came seeking Jesus at the tomb. Do not be afraid. Powerful words. Even more so when you consider that they follow Jesus' instructions to get up. Except it's not exactly get up. It's be raised. This is the same word used again by an angel to proclaim Jesus' resurrection. So let's recount this latter part of the story again. The voice from heaven affirms Jesus' identity as the beloved child and commands the disciples to listen to him. That is, to hear his words, follow his commands, and be obedient to his summons. In response, they fall to the ground in terror. And then Jesus reaches out his hand, touches them, and commands them quite literally to be raised and no longer fear. It's no wonder that this scene has sometimes been called a displaced resurrection story. The dazzling light, the command to be raised, the injunction to fear not, it's just like the resurrection scene. Except in this scene, it's not Jesus' resurrection, but that of the disciples, as they are taken from fear and failure to new life and new courage. It's also interesting that Jesus doesn't, at least right now, a few verses later on, doesn't right now chastise them for their failure, or call them to repentance, or even grant them forgiveness. Rather, he calls them to be raised and to cast off their fear, sending them forth into life restored and renewed. Might we take a lesson from this? Might we, that is, literally listen to him and go and do likewise? So much of our Christian story has been told in almost entirely negative terms. That is, what we are not. Human nature is not good, but rather wicked and immoral. Sin, understood as all those things that we do wrong, is evidence of our human inadequacy. And grace, from this point of view, becomes the only antidote to sin, the divine whiteout that erases the marks against us in St. Peter's ledger. But as I read this story, I was struck that there is no mention of sin, immorality, or failure. No condemnation of anything that we might lack. Rather, Jesus speaks words of resurrection that cast out fear, create unexpected possibilities, and furnish new life. That is, Jesus speaks of what is and what may be in the power of the Spirit. It is good to be here, but we can't stay. Jesus invites us also to be transfigured, to change, as Ms. Howe suggested. See, I got to it. Jesus invites us to turn and head towards the other mountain 7 weeks from now. And Jesus suggests something that we can give up for Lent, our fear, and a new spiritual practice to take up. Listen to him. Here today, we hear the victory cry of resurrection. We hear a call to courage, and we hear a promise of new life. Here today is the one who meets us not on the mountaintop, but in a piece of bread and a sip of wine. This is the one who lifts us up, bidding us not to be afraid. This is the one who calls us to go with him to Jerusalem and to be raised. Don't be afraid. Come, take his hand, follow where he leads. and catch a glimpse of the infinite God who embraces us all in a love that surpasses all we can ever hope or dream. Listen to him. Do not be afraid. Be raised. Amen.